was a real bilateral formal meeting, ran almost 2 hours, had the whole gang in there. He had Secretary Rubio, he had Jamieson Greer, the U.S. Trade Representative, he had Bessent, and probably a few others, of course, on the U.S. side. He brought up Jimmy Lai. That hasn't been widely reported in the news, but a reporter from EWTN, and we have of course, our own sources, has said definitively that that was. And that, to me, is a big deal because everyone says Trump is transactional. And the funny thing is that presidents who supposedly were less transactional and more, I don't know, moral or moralistic never quite got around to pressing human rights issues on China, at least not in a serious way. I mean, Bill Clinton ran on criticizing Bush 41 for coddling the butchers of Beijing after Tiananmen, and then Bubba did the opposite of push them on human rights. He welcomed them into the global community as Bubba envisioned it. Same with the Freedom Agenda and Bush 43. Some stuff on China, but not a whole lot. And then, of course, Obama topped that by meeting with the Dalai Lama and making sure he was photographed leaving through the back door next to the dumpster. So now we have Trump, and he actually goes over, and this is supposedly against negotiating not 101, but maybe 102, which is don't bring up things that aren't really that important to you that might piss off the person you're negotiating with. But Trump did. He brought up Jimmy Lai, apparently pressed the issue, said, listen, you guys just got to let this guy go. He's bad. This is bad for you to have him in there. It's bad for him. It's bad for everyone. And to me, that actually shows confidence. That's actually smart negotiating if you look at the bigger picture, because, Trump can look and say, okay, you thought you had me over the barrel on rare earths, but I just, cut deals with Japan and Malaysia and Vietnam and Thailand and Cambodia and Australia, and also have domestic production working here in the United States. It'll take some time. But so I look at that and say that this is confidence and this is wise and this is disproving what the negative Nancy, know nothing, know it all progressives say about Trump on human rights. What do you think?
I think Donald Trump bringing up my boss, Jimmy Lai, was probably one of the more telling moral moments of the entire month or whatever it is. In other words, Jimmy Lai, who is very pro-American, he's probably the most pro-American publisher there was in all of Asia, probably in most of even Europe. Jimmy Lai, Donald Trump spoke out about him in 2019. He actually spoke about him a couple of times when he was out of office. And he openly knows who Jimmy is. And he feels a connection with my boss, for whatever reason. They've never met. And I think what's happened and what we've continued to see is a president who's committed to basically liberating people and bringing people out. I think sometimes I listen to people, I'm going like, it's the China hands who don't care about fentanyl, which just blows my mind. Every time you bring up human rights, they're going, well, that's human rights. But they're always managed to go to some place and wear some Tibetan garb or put on some Uyghur hat or something like that. But when it actually comes to doing something, Donald Trump gets people out. He's got a history of that. And I think that's essentially, I take it back to Donald Trump being the guy who let African Americans in his golf club, before everybody else. Donald Trump, who basically found out that people weren't hiring blacks on his sites, his construction sites, and said, I can't have that. I can't be in that neighborhood and do that. Donald Trump is fundamentally a charitable guy. Now, if you swing at Donald Trump, God help you. But if you don't, and you're appreciative, as I know the Lai family is, and I am, and all of Jimmy's friends and colleagues are, Donald Trump went in there. He didn't have to do this.